Hello everyone, I'm Laurent from the marketing team. I think that all our participants are there to join us, and for the remaining one, they will join us in a few minutes. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with all of you this morning or evening for some. Will Taylor from the US team will be our technical speaker today. With Will and the entire product team, we take you on an exciting journey through the latest and greatest features of 4D v19 R8. Today's program will cover 3 topics: development-related features, 4D View Pro, and 4D Write Pro, to which we added highly interesting features. Throughout the webinar, we'll have short breaks after each main part to address any question you may have. Your microphones will remain muted, so please use the Q&A question and answer box of the Zoom screen to ask any question at any time. Feel free to type and share your questions as soon as they come to mind without having to wait for the Q&A breaks. By doing so, you won't run the risk of forgetting them. As already mentioned during the introduction, we are fortunate to have our product team members joining us today, ready to provide answers and insights. So let's kick off with our first topic. I'm now passing to Will.
I would like to start the webinar with the most advanced topic in the R9, in the 19 R8 release. And this is the managing user permissions with ORDA. Now, 4D already allows you to expose or not a data class and some of its attributes as a REST resources. This is done in the structure editor. And this is a really convenient and quick way to restrict access to specific pieces of data in your table structure. Now, 19R8 goes further by providing a powerful and fully customizable system to protect your data from unauthorized users. The system for protecting your data depends on who is accessing it and what they're accessing. Now, this new feature is based on ORDA concepts and scalable web sessions. It covers all web processes, such as REST requests, requests received on remote data stores, and web processes like 4D actions and 4D tags. To be a little bit, just to make sure I'm clear here, this mechanism covers only web access. Only web access. Your desktop applications and the way you manage your data your desktop applications and the way you access your data with your web applications remains unchanged. Now, when it comes to web applications, a recurring difficulty is that malicious people can try to bypass your user interface, especially hitting your REST interface. And by parsing through your API, they can try to access fields that you don't necessarily want them to have. So this is why we are offering now this very low level protection. And the privileges are carried out by the session object offered by the scalable web session. This object persists for the life of the web session, and each browser or connection has its own session object. And when you authenticate a user, you need to indicate in the session what this user, what their role is for. For example, administrator or just a simple user can have different permissions and different accesses. And this is easy to do thanks to the set privileges function of the session object, as you can see on the in the documentation in the presentation. Now, these roles, privileges, and permissions are different from the usual 4D groups. They are simply defined in a JSON file in your project folder, where you can describe all the protection rules you want, from the data store to specific data class attributes. It is therefore a very powerful feature with which you can control very finely the access to your data. And I recommend you read the dedicated blog post and the documentation, and then you should have everything you need to know about this feature. So, and I guess going back, taking a step back, if you do not have any roles defined for your application, it assumes that everybody, for example, on the REST interface, is able to see everything that's exposed to the REST interface. So everybody comes in as a guest user, and that guest user has access to everything that's exposed to the REST interface, for example. So if you're using REST, I would definitely look into this with 4019 R8. Cool. Now, do you know a developer who does not work with list boxes? Well, it's the easiest and most common way to display data in a 4D application. Now, automatic row height was already possible for table-based list boxes, allowing the cells to automatically, the rows to automatically adjust based on the content that was in the rows. And now 19R8 has extended this feature to offer that of the automatic row height adjustment to list box based on collections and entity selections. Now, in this example on screen, you can see that the height of the rows adapts well to the content in their cells, and also to the font size, depending if you change it. So here you have the control with the ability to set the minimum and maximum heights as well. So, and as you can see, it's a super simple. If you read the blog, you'll see that it's really simple and incredibly, it's simple to implement. So have fun. So let's move on to error handling now. 4019R8 brings new possibilities to error handling. Now you can define a global error handler that will be effective for all execution contexts, like processes, workers, ORDA computed attributes, ORDA functions, what have you. This way, if you do not define a local error handler in a new process or worker, the global error handler will be invoked automatically if an error is received in the app, if an error happens in the application. This means that there are no more error dialogues displayed on the server and no more uncaught errors. This feature really simplifies your life. You no longer run the risk of missing an error that your application runs into by having forgotten to load the error handler around the code. And you can always keep your current error handlers. Don't worry, we're not changing that feature. The current error handlers will take precedence from the global ones. So if you have a local error handler, if you have a global error handler and a local error handler, the local error handler will take precedence, will run, the code will run. So very cool. And I mean, love it or hate it, email is the primary means of communication in business. And Microsoft 365 is a leader that can't be ignored. Now, in integrating Microsoft 365 for receiving, sending, and processing email into an enterprise application could be a major selling point for your solution. It could be the difference between your application and other applications on the market. Now, as you may already know, 40NetKit is an integrated component from 4D that allows you to interact with third-party web services and their APIs, like Microsoft Graph. And with 19R8, we added new commands to this component that allow you to manage your emails via the Microsoft Graph API. Commands for receiving emails, listing the folders, moving the emails from one folder to another, replying to an email and creating a conversation, creating a draft email and saving it to a folder of your choice, and also deleting an email. Now, to learn more about this very broad topic, I invite you to check out the blog. It's quite a vast topic and can be a great thing for your application. And you may ask yourself, hey, I could always do this with IMAP and POP3. Why do I need to use the Microsoft Graph API? Well, Ad and I asked ourselves the same question. And after a quick look on Google, we saw that the Microsoft Graph API IMAP and POP3 are currently deprecated for Microsoft. So this is the way to integrate with Microsoft applications in the future. And these mail access features are just the tip of the iceberg of what can be done with the Microsoft 365 Graph API and Netkit. So have a look if you're interested. Now, for some time now, 4D has allowed you to deliver Windows applications in SDI mode. This is a great feature that was added a few years back in 16R4. The small problem was that until version 19R8, testing these applications was a little bit cumbersome because you always had to build first and then test the built application. And in case you're making frequent changes to your UI, this was quite tedious. Well, with 19R8, testing an SDI application is now a breeze. You can view your application without having to generate it. Just select the test application in the SDI mode. In order for you to access that, you have to have the button clicked in the settings for your application to be in SDI mode, and then you can test it right there. Super awesome. So super simple feature, but we hope that it makes your life much easier. Now, 4D has improved support for external code source editors like Microsoft or like Visual Studio Code, allowing for developers to manage 4D code and provide them with standard features such as syntax highlighting, go-to definition, and signature help. And with 19R8, 4D brings some new features to Visual Studio's code: code completion, 4D commands, object attributes, object functions, methods, variables, and contexts and types. Wow. All of this is now covered by code completion in Visual Studio. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are we doing this? And what we're actually doing inside 4D is we are modernizing the 4D method editor. One way that we're doing that is we're implementing a protocol called LSP. And so what this means is that 4D becomes kind of a language server that is then able to be queried by VS Code. And as we are modernizing the 4D editor and implementing slowly but surely these features in the LSP protocol, these integrations with source code editors like VS Code are direct results from this work. So, and also VS Code exists on Windows, Mac, and Linux, so it exists everywhere. And if you recruit a new developer, whatever their language of expertise is, there is a strong chance that they're currently well-versed in VS Code and prefer to work in that environment. And also, we know that our developers use VS Code with 4D quite a bit. It's not the majority, but for developers that work across many different technologies like PHP, Perl, JSON, XML, or HTML, CSS, they may want to have all of their code in one location. That way they can make sure they can make code changes here without going to the method editor right away, especially when they're in project mode. So it's very cool modernizations in the 4D method editor. Now, with the introduction of project mode, it's quite easy to I guess, build parts of your projects. In the latest version of 4D, we added several features that allow you to create your own build chain that is adapted to your team, your working methods, and your needs. To help create your own build chain or to integrate 4D in a continuous integration tool, we have developed a component called Build 4D, which is available open source on GitHub. For this first step, Build 4D allows you to create a compiled structure and a compiled component. So we will continue to add features to the Build 4D component And soon you'll be able to manage single user applications or even server applications. And I'd like to just quickly take a moment and remind you that the 4D Git repository is chock full of examples, and it's really worth your while looking into it. I look into it quite a bit when I need when someone points something and there's a lot of things, add delivers things, and all of that, how do's are there. So, and the reason for putting a component like this on GitHub is so that you can take it and adapt it to your needs and to your organization, whether it be a big or small one. For example, one way to take this is when say you're a developer and you modify some code and you want to commit that code to Git, but you forgot to do a syntax check and you made a typo. Well, an idea is that a Git runner starts to do a syntax check to avoid mistakes, the mistake of the typo entering the repository. So pretty much your check-in gets rejected because there's a typo automatically. That's why we created the commands like compile project so that they can be run automatically in this way. Or maybe you want to trigger a build once a day at night, for example, at midnight, for some automated testing, and then make that build available for somewhere for your customers or beta testers to pick up. That's actually the way we work in 4D. Every night we produce a build of each branch of 4D in Git, and automatic tests are triggered to run against those builds. And then in the morning, when we show up and someone says, grab the latest version of 4D, we just need to drag it from one location and pull it from our computer. It's really a cool way to work and for us to be able to test things out when we need to get the latest and greatest. So again, this is just the first step. Soon you'll be able to include your license numbers with the volume desktop, change the icons for Windows. So stay tuned. And if this is very interesting for modern code DevOps, modern code deployment and DevOps teams. So cool.
So thank you, Will. That's it for the highlights of 4D v19 R8 for developers. Now we would like to open the floor for any questions you may have. So please feel free to ask anything related to the topics covered. To moderate this first Q&A session, I'm welcoming Marie-Sophie, product owner at 4D. So Marie-Sophie, I'm passing to you and to the team. So we don't have yet pending questions. So how we'll proceed, quick reminder, it will give you the time to type your question in the Q&A box. You will type your question. I really think that we have the huge opportunity to have the entire product owner team that is there to answer your questions. Marie-Sophie will speak the questions and one person from the team will answer or will give insights. So I'm passing to you, Marie-Sophie.
Okay, thank you. So we have a first question with VS Code, and I see that Damien is currently answering. And we have a second question about VS Code 2. How will VS Code integration in combination with live debugging? And a third question, do we have plans to deprecate the method editor? So I guess those three questions are for Damien.
So just to make sure that you capture answer by the time you type it and to give some time to Damien. So for the question, is there a way for VS Code to format the method spacing to match 4D default formatting? Damien answer, not at the moment. We all need, or you all need to be patient. It will come. And for we have had two other questions also related to this very interesting topic. So how will VS Code integration in combination with live debugging? At that time, you can debug with VS Code, same thing, but at this moment, that's what Damien answered. And the question, and the latest one was, do we have plan to deprecate the method editor? And The answer is definitely no.
There's a question about permission, so I'm going to answer in a few minutes. Can we integrate attributes as well into permission? Attribute-oriented permission. Yes, we can. I'm going to answer this question during the second part of the webinar.
If you wish, you can answer live, Marie-Sophie.
Yes, so we can set up permissions at attribute level. So you have examples in the blog post and in the HDI.
And ask a complementary question, for instance, up to 100 companies codes. I think it's a question.
I'm not sure to answer the second point, up to 100 company codes.
And do you think that you can refine your question so that we can give you?
Yes, or we can discuss on the forum if you have
a
specific example.
Maybe I can interrupt, and hi everyone. I think I heard the question before. It is about what we internally name restricted queries, which is an open feature request. So to say that Group A is only allowed to see customers from Switzerland, Group B is allowed to see customers from Germany, and so on, or to see up to 100 records, not more. So to link a query with a virtual table or something like that. This is an open feature request.
Yeah, it's another feature, yes.
Oh, yes, thanks a lot, Thomas, to have jumped in. Okay, if you have no more questions at the time, we can move to the next topic. And again, you will have the time during the next topics to think again to question and to type them. We'll answer them. So thank you, Marie-Sophie and the team to have answered questions. Thank you, Thomas and Damien. So now let's proceed with a discussion on 4D View Pro and 4D Write Pro. In v19 R8, we are introducing one significant feature for each of these products. While each product may only have one feature, rest assured that these additional add significant importance. I'm passing again to Will for the technical presentation.
Tables are an essential part of a 4D View Pro document. That's why we've made advances with tables in the previous version. And 4D v19 R8 adds a new feature that allows you to customize the look of your tables so that they blend with the rest of your document. Now, the VP set table command offers you the ability to programmatically apply one of over 60 predefined table styles. And if none of these fit your needs, you can always make your own, create a style, and then apply it as necessary to your table. So in the example on screen, you can see we have what's it called? An editor for these styles. All right, you can make some wild and wacky styles. These aren't probably the ones you would use in your application. It's just something that you can see. But as you can see, we are creating these styles and we are applying those themes directly into the 4D View Pro area with the VP set table command. So now you have full control over So now you have full control over the setting and the way that your tables look with, like, for example, and what your customers need for fonts, background colors, lines, font size, etc. So hopefully you can create more beautiful reports than what I've done here in this quick demo. And let's move on to 4D View Pro to an even more striking feature. The floating-based text boxes of 4D View Pro. This is another stone in the building of 4D View Pro as an advanced template-based document generator. Now, we've said it over and over in previous sessions, 4D Write Pro is much more than a word processor. It's our document generating machine engine. Think here about how we want to create a document with a field of the customer's address, or with a special image for the customer, or promotional image or desktop, anything that you want to just add into any sort of text box that you like to add into your document. Now, this was always possible with 4D Write Pro, but you would encounter difficulties to position the text in the right spot of the document. Now, with 4D19 R8, it is very easy thanks to this new idea of text boxes. A text box is a floating text box of any size that contains text, images, or even tables. And they can be used in a variety of different ways. If we have a look at this example on screen, we are using a text box whose dimensions can be defined by you or the end user, and this area contains an address. Now, we insert this zone in the document anywhere we want. For example, in the US, we would want to have the address on the left side, whereas in France, you'd want to have it on the right side. So different people have different needs based on their location where they're sending their mail. So So it's a very easy and simple way for you to make sure that your end document is appropriate for who is going to be receiving it. I'm sure you have a dozen use cases for this feature, and and remember that even though we call it a text box or text area, it can actually contain a table, an image, or anything else a 4D Write Pro document can produce. And of course, you can have multiple text boxes on the same page. So you're not limited to just one.
So thank you, Will, again. And that's it for the two products. Again, feel free to ask anything related to the topics covered during the webinar. So not only in regards for the View Pro or for the Write Pro. If you think on anything, any question that may come up to you in regards to anything we have covered today, please go ahead. To moderate this second Q&A session, so I'm really pleased to pass to Vanessa, member of the product team at 4D. So Vanessa, again, it's up to you, and you will be the person that will speak the questions and with the team answer.
Thanks, Laurent. Hi, everybody. You have a question about 4D Write Pro. Can you link 4D Write Pro text box with text overflow? A link, I suppose you talk about to make an hyperlink and to click on the hyperlink and go to the text box. I suppose it's possible with perhaps a bookmark, but not directly a link.
I think the question is to have two text boxes, and when one text box is full, it automatically moves to the next text box, which is a kind of overflow between text boxes, which is not supported, and we do not have a feature request for that. So if you need that, please go to the feature request forum, describe the need. I personally would like it, but so far I never heard a customer asking for it.
Yes, the text box is precise if you enter many text. If you have any question later, you can ask them on the forum if you don't have any idea or question now.
Okay, so it really seems that everything was clear. So thanks a lot, Vanessa, and thanks a lot, Thomas. So before we say goodbye, I have an exciting announcement, or I hope for most of you, a reminder to make regarding the upcoming 4D Summit. This highly anticipated event will take place in both Atlanta and Paris this October. We have prepared presentations and masterclasses I'm certain will captivate your interest. And honestly, it will be very refreshing to have the opportunity to see and interact with you all in person after years of virtual events. So visit the official website for more information, and don't wait to book your seat to make sure you will be there with the entire 4D community. Really enjoy the opportunity to see you, whether it's in Atlanta or in Paris. Additionally, I would like to remind you to take part in the 4D v20 beta program, which was recently launched. This is an excellent and unique opportunity to get an early glimpse of the new features and improvements we have in store for you. As usual, and make sure to regularly visit the blog for updates from our product team. And as Vanessa said, if you have had not that many questions, it seems that you are regular visitors of our blog. Thank you all for being here today. I would like to extend a special thank you to the product team and to Thomas Maul for their support and responsiveness in addressing all of your questions throughout this webinar. For the next session, it will take place in person at the 4D Summit. So see you soon there, and goodbye. Have a great day and a good evening to our visitors, to our participants from Japan and Australia. Goodbye.